apology from Donald Trump.
Do you think I'd make a stupid statement like that? Who would make a statement like that? Only a sick person would even think about it.
The US presidential candidate tells CNN he did nothing wrong when he made controversial comments about a female journalist. Also, Black Lives Matter, 1 year after the police shooting of teenager Michael Brown, a look back at the incident that sparked protests across the country and ignited a debate over how police treat minorities. Also, Typhoon Sudalo weakens over China and claims more lives. We'll have the latest on the mudslides and the flooding. Hello, I'm Lynda Kinkade, and this is CNN Newsroom. Donald Trump is offering no apologies for what he said about a female news anchor, despite calls from within his own party. The comment was directed at Fox journalist Megyn Kelly, the only female moderator of a Republican presidential debate. Trump said, or described Kelly's composure during the debate, saying she had, quote, blood coming out of her eyes and wherever. Critics took that as a reference to menstruation, but Trump talked to CNN's Jake Tapper earlier today and said this is what he meant.
I cherish women. I want to help women. I'm going to do things for women that no other candidate will be able to do. I said blood was pouring from her eyes or out of her eyes, which is a very common statement. And by the way, I said the same thing about Chris Wallace.
That's right.
Nobody said anything.
You did.
But I said the exact same thing about Chris Wallace.
But then you said she had blood. You said blood coming out of her wherever.
I said no. I said and blood was pouring for wherever. Because I wanted to finish the sentence, because I went on to something. I wanted to get off of the whole thing and get back onto the subject of jobs or whatever we were talking to about right after that. So I didn't even say anything because I didn't even finish the thought. I was going to say nose and or ears because that's a very common statement. Blood pouring out of somebody's nose. It's a statement showing anger. She had great anger. When she was questioning me, I said nothing wrong whatsoever.
So
and by the way, Jake, let me just say this. Only a deviant would say that what I said was what they were referring to, because nobody can make that statement. You almost have to be sick to sort of put that together.
Joining me from Washington is Karen Agness. She is the founder and president of the conservative women's group, the network of Enlightened Women. Karen, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for inviting me on.
Now, Mr. Trump, as you've heard, says he cherishes women and said he was misinterpreted. What's your response?
What Mr. Trump is saying is inappropriate, it's rude, and it's really distracting from the big issues and the policy debates that we should be having. I mean, we're having all these discussions about his comments, and he's not even walking them back. So I think it's quite frankly a distraction, and it's really going to hurt him in the polls, especially with women.
And with regards to the Fox anchor, Megyn Kelly, Mr. Trump had this to say. Just take a listen.
I have nothing against Megyn Kelly. I think her question was extremely unfair to me. Her whole questioning was unfair to me. And when you say beloved, I will say this. On social media, I'm the one that's beloved, okay? Because if you look at social media and what's happening, they are really coming out strongly in favor of Donald Trump. They agree. And this whole thing with this political correctness in this country is out of control.
Trump seems to have this sort of Teflon coating. He has polled well right across the board, including among female voters in the past. Do you think we will see him lose support when the next polls come out? Or what's your prediction?
Well, we have to remember we are really early in this presidential election cycle, and these primaries and these debates are all about giving the American people, including women, more of a chance to learn about the candidates. And I'm confident that as more of the American people learn about candidates like Mr. Trump and hear comments coming from him like this one, that they're going to find other candidates to support. But I'm glad to see him. If he's going to make these comments, I'd rather have him make them early on in these primaries so that people can move on to other candidates.
Now, another major issue, of course, another major women's issue is maternity leave. And we know just a couple of days ago, Netflix announced that it'll offer up to a year of paid leave for new parents. Now, we know that the US is one of only 2 countries out of 185, this is according to the International Labour Organization, which doesn't offer any mandated cash benefit to new mothers. Democratic frontrunner Hillary Clinton has put paid leave at the centre of her platform, saying it's outrageous that America is the only country in the developed world that doesn't guarantee paid leave. Now, Carly Fiorina weighed into this earlier today on CNN's Jake Tapper. Have a listen to what she had to say.
I don't think it's the role of government to dictate to the private sector how to manage their businesses, especially when it's pretty clear that the private sector, like Netflix, like the example that you just gave, is doing the right thing.
So she's the only female Republican presidential candidate. She doesn't believe in mandated paid leave, maternity leave. Do you think this issue could add fuel to the so-called Republican war on women?
Well, I was glad to see Carly Fiorina have such a strong debate performance, and I hope that she will get into the primetime debate next time, because I think she can talk about these issues in an important way and in a compelling way. And on the issue of paid maternity leave and paternity leave, what Carly's saying is right, that we shouldn't have a mandated policy where the government's dictating to businesses how they contract with their employees. Netflix, for example, as you mentioned, on their own decided to give unlimited leave for the first year. Microsoft came out with a generous policy. So the issue isn't, whether we have maternity or paternity leave in this country, but who's paying for it and who is deciding how these businesses contract with their employees.
But how do you think she's going to stack up against Hillary Clinton on this issue, where Hillary Clinton is coming out saying, I'm going to look after working mothers in this country?
Well, quite frankly, we haven't even gotten to the issues that Hillary Clinton can talk a lot about because we've been so distracted by the email servers and by a lot of other issues that are causing major problems for her campaign. So I would like to see us talk about these policy issues more, but I'm not sure Hillary's going to be able to make a compelling case with all the other issues with her campaign right now.
This is obviously an issue that she's already put out an ad about. So it's one that she's pushing pretty hard on, and obviously Carly Fiorina is completely against it. So do you think that at the end of the day, if this issue comes up, if Carly Fiorina has a very good run in the lead up and is chosen, that this could weigh against her?
Well, I think this will be part of the larger issue of how we get our economy going again. And we have a great roster of Republican candidates who have plans for how we can improve our economy and get a dynamic economy going, which will lead to businesses competing for talent and offering more generous packages to keep talented at their companies. The problem is that the proposals that Hillary Clinton's going to put forth and has put forth are going to make it harder for businesses to hire more employees and to grow their companies. Take healthcare, for example. Have these restrictions on, more regulations on what businesses have to do in terms of healthcare, which is causing them to hire few employees and reduce their hours. So it's a larger question about how we form our economic policy to encourage businesses to grow.
And just finally, just back to Donald Trump, do you think he's on the outer now? Do you think he might be invited to the next conservative event?
Well, I think there's some big questions, and how he's handling himself is not compelling to a lot of Republicans. In America, we have over 50% of voters are women, so I think there's going to be a strong reaction from a majority of voters really questioning what he's saying when it comes to women this past week.
Okay, Karen Agness there from the network of Enlightened Women. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.